All right, hi guys. Today we're going to be talking about some vocab words related to the study of genetics. First of all, genetics is the study of how traits are passed on from person to person. You might also hear genetics being called heredity. It's the same. A gene, as you have already heard, is a segment of DNA that determines a trait. So a gene is made up of the letters of DNA, like the one you built in class, such as A, T, C, G. The order of those letters determines what the gene is. Something to note is that there are many, many genes in the human genome that we don't know what they do yet. So lots of undiscovered genes. A trait is a characteristic. It's what you look like. So your traits are determined by your genes. You inherit both your genes and your traits from your parent. An example would be height, eye color, all that. Okay, new word, allele. An allele is a different version of a gene. So for each of your genes, you have two alleles. One came from your mom and one came from your dad. They're always written as letters. So in this example, big T is standing for tall and little t is standing for short. The letters that are for the trait are not important. Normally what happens is the letter makes sense for what the trait is. So in this one, T makes sense for tall. Okay, genotype. You can see that the word gene is inside genotype. A genotype is the person's two alleles that they have for that trait. A genotype will always be two letters. So an example of that is big T, little t, or big T, little t. You also could have B's, so it could be big B, little b. It could be any letter. You just have to have two. Phenotype. Your phenotype is what you look like. So there's genotype, that's your genes, and phenotype, which is how you look. You can remember that because phenotype, physical, they both start with P's. Example would be that you're tall, or that you have brown hair, or that you have big ears. So you'll never say someone has a phenotype of big T, big T. Doesn't make sense. There are two types of alleles, dominant and recessive. First, we're going to talk about dominant. The dominant allele is the one that is always seen. So if you have one dominant allele, then that trait will show in you. These will always be written as capital letters. So big T, big B, big D, any capital letter is a dominant allele. The opposite of dominant is recessive. So recessive alleles are only seen if there's no dominant allele. They're written as lowercase letters. So in order to show a recessive trait such as blonde hair, you would have to have two little letters as a genotype. Okay, let's practice for a second. So there's two alleles for eye color. Brown is dominant and blue is recessive. There are three possible genotypes that someone could have for eye color. They are big B, big B, big B, and little b, little b. The phenotypes are what the person will look like. So if they have two big B's, they will have brown eyes. If they have one big B and one little b, they'll still have brown eyes because the dominant B, the big B, will overpower the little b. Finally, the person who has two little b's will have blue eyes, recessive traits. All right, a couple more words. Homozygous means the same. So if someone's homozygous, it means they have two of the same allele. It could be two of the dominant allele or two of the recessive allele. So as you can see in the examples, they just have to be two of the same letter. Homozygous dominant means that they have two capital letters as their genotype. Their phenotype will be dominant. The opposite is homozygous recessive, which is two little letters, so they will have a recessive phenotype. It's also possible that someone could be heterozygous. Hetero means different, so this person would have two different alleles, such as big G, little g. Their phenotype would be dominant. So if big G stands for green and little g stands for yellow, then someone or something who is big G, little g would be green. Normally, when you're choosing alleles, letters to represent your alleles, you choose the letter that goes with dominant. So if green is dominant, you would use G's. All right, here's the Canvas prompt for this time. It's also visible on Canvas. That's it for today. See you next time. Bye.